I wanted to speak for a moment about the cord cutting practice that I have recorded for you. This practice may seem a little esoteric to some people, and shamanism is the lineage that this practice comes from, which is an earth-centered lineage that dates back over 45,000 years. And it's a way of being able to call the parts of yourself back that you may have accidentally or purposefully or intentionally given away to someone else. And it's also a way of releasing any cords that are coming into you. So when we're in relationship, no matter what kind of relationship, whether it's intimate or personal or friendship or professional, we have this exchanging of energy that happens. And in that exchange of energy, we can sort of absorb other people, and other people can absorb us. So a way that I like to describe it is, imagine that you were a color. Let's say you were blue, and you went and you hung out with somebody else and they were red. And when you leave there, you're a little purple now because you've absorbed some of their color. And when we absorb somebody's color, what happens is that it ends up amplifying our own experiences. So it means that we may have our own version of depression or anxiety, but when we've absorbed somebody else's energy, it actually amplifies it to the place where we don't have the capacity to handle it. So we don't have the capacity to manage it. It becomes overwhelming. And whenever we are overwhelmed, it is a sign that we are not fully in our own energy bodies, that we've absorbed other energies, and that we've given little pieces of ourselves away. Now, ways that we give ourselves away is, let's say you want to say something that's been on your mind for a while to somebody, and you go to say it, but you realize that they may have an emotional response to what you're going to say. So in some way you take responsibility for their feelings and you don't actually share what it is that you want to say. So that's one way that we can actually, by taking responsibility for somebody else, that's one way we can actually take on somebody else's energy, and we can create a cord there. One of my teachers says it so brilliantly that we are only meant to run on our own energy, that if we absorb somebody else's energy, it will over amplify our own stuff to the place where we won't be able to manage it. So as we're doing this cord cutting practice, as we're doing this forgiveness practice, as we're inviting ourselves to come more fully into our body, as we release any cords and contracts that we've made with other people, we're doing this. Some of it may seem a little esoteric. Some of it may seem like, what is energy? And it sounds a little foo-foo. So I want you to think about it as when you go to a garden, a beautiful botanical garden, there's a certain energy that you might begin to feel being in that garden, just like you might be able to feel it here as I'm in Hawaii with the beautiful trees around me and the birds singing. There's a certain feeling that we get. Now go from the garden in your mind's eye to the Apple store to get your computer fixed. It's a very different energy, right? You can feel a different sense inside of yourself. So as we're talking about energy, it's just that. It's just that simple. It's not foofy. It's not far out there. So the other thing that I would want to share with you is that as we're doing the practice, I might talk about your energy body. So in many cultures around the world, it's known that we have our physical body, we have our spirit body, and then we have our energy body or our etheric body. And so it's sort of like a sheath that's around us, because everything is energy, everything is vibrational. So this energy body oftentimes is just a little bit around our physical form. And so when I'm saying to go in and soothe your own energy body, you're just kind of coming as if from the inside you were polishing the mirror. It's very gentle and it's very slow. And you might just notice that as you do that, you can have your palms out, you can have it in, depending on what's happening for you and what feels good. And you're just noticing if you can sense a little bit of soothing. It's a self-soothing practice, actually. And it's not on the skin, because that's a very different, that's actually touching the physical body. So we want to soothe the energy body, because when we absorb other people's energies and when we have cords going out or coming into us, we actually want to create the soothing of any holes that may happen in the energetic field. And the holes happen when we have unresolved contracts with other people, whether from this life or past lives or other lives. So just know that as well, if you have a challenging time while you're doing the practice imagining anything that we're guiding, just trust that it's happening. And if you can't visualize it, that's okay. You can also speak the words out loud to yourself as we're doing the practice. And I don't think my drum came out super clear in the recording. So if you want to play a little drumming music, that would be beautiful. And it's a beautiful way when we use the drums or the rattles. It's a beautiful way to create a rhythmic sound that helps to distract the ego, the mind that's going to be like, this isn't working, I'm making this up, that's not really real. But we want to actually distract that part of the mind so that we can fully be in the experience. In shamanism, we work in what we call non-ordinary reality. So it's a reality that's beyond what we can taste and smell and touch. So it is the imagination, really. So I invite you to allow your imagination to run and do the practice a few times, and just notice what happens inside of yourself, even if it's just you're deeply relaxed, and notice the results that may happen afterwards. Like you might notice that you react or respond differently in those relationships, especially if you're specifically working with one relationship around releasing that cord. I think that is about all I wanted to say. Let me just check in. I'll close my eyes for a minute and check in and see if there's anything else that I'd like to share with you around the practice. I will share that after you do one of these sorts of practices, it's highly suggested or recommended that you take a little time to yourself. It takes about 3 days usually for the work to completely seep into your spirit, into your body, and into reality. So you might find, let's say you're doing a practice where you're releasing a cord with someone else, and you may want to not speak with that person just for a few days to give yourself a different way of responding to the situation and give your body and your spirit a little time to integrate, calling yourself home. Okay. I wish you many blessings on your journey. Aloha.